interesting. Let me go to this interview between Mark Lamont and Richard Wolff, the economist. I think it's very interesting because I'm going to tell you when I came to my revelation of the arguments that are going on with this whole thing. So
You mentioned Elon Musk. He has not just been a public cheerleader for Donald Trump. He's been brought into the fold in very concrete ways, kind of to help dismantle the federal government. They've gutted entire departments, including aid agency USAID, as well as the Department of Veterans Affairs. They've terminated thousands of contracts, and they're set to lay off tens of thousands of workers in what might be effectively the biggest job cut in U.S. history.
Mm-hmm.
They're not done.
No.
They're setting sights on the U.S. Department of Education.
But again, for an employer, this is nirvana because he's not going to have to tax them. Look, he has to deliver that to them. How's he going to do it? He could borrow the money. That's what his predecessors did. But we are now at a level of debt this country has never seen. It's becoming a scary problem because if the rest of the world no longer lends to the United States government to cover its deficits, what are we going to do? Let's remember that for many, many people, you get paid less if you work for the government than if you go in the private sector. And the compensation for that was job security. What Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk are doing, more than what the workers are that they fire, is they've taken that security away. Where do you think public employees are going to go if either they've lost their job, which is happening to tens of thousands, or they're scared silly that they might lose their job? They're going to go into the private sector. Where else are they going to go? Which means they're going to drive down wages and working conditions in the private sector because the worker who comes from the private sector laid off after 5-10 years, that means not only your job is gone, your income is gone, but your career ladder has just been yanked out from under you. So you're desperate. You're worried. You will offer yourself one way or another for less money than the person who's in that private sector job now.
He said two interesting things. He said the government worker goes in, and typically the balance for the government workers that maybe you get paid less in the government, but you have security. And this is something that we had talked about before, because typically when you work for the government, you expect, or the city or the state, all that's all government, you expect security. And I think that's where federal workers are discombobulated because they feel like they're supposed to have security. But it kind of goes against the whole aspect of us being in a deficit and spending too much.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that he said that.
That was interesting.
You know, and Dick Wolf is very respected. So,
and I think that's actually, I mean, if what you provide in the government is no longer needed, you get fired or laid off, whatever, and it forces you into the private sector, I think that's actually a good thing because then wages, I feel like, are going to be more competitive. It's going to be skill based, so you're going to hire people who are really good at their job because it's going to be more skilled based. And I think that's going to be better for the consumer at the end of the day.
That's a little bit of I think that's a little bit of a stretch.
I think it's going to be competitive. I think it's going to make the field competitive. I don't think you're just necessarily going to settle for less. Oh, this is all I can get. No, it's going to make you more competitive. And I feel like it's going to harness in more on your skill. What can you offer the company, So I think that's great.
For sure. And then also too, I feel like, okay, even if you make that argument, so if let's take the federal government as the employer. If the employer is in bad fiscal shape and is spending too much money, do you just keep the level of employees just because they're going to be going to the private sector?
Never.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not arguing whether every cut DOGE is making is correct. I don't know that. You know what I'm saying? But the point is like the reasoning to keep the government the exact same way it is now can't be that you just don't like the changes. You know what I'm saying? That to me, as a voter, as a citizen, that's just not enough. I'm looking for like logical reasoning.
Yeah.
So when I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, I was like, well, these are the things. DOGE is saying they're finding this and this and that. They're finding this, that. And I think the reaction going back to the protesters, a lot of people are like, I don't even want to hear what they got to say because I don't like them and they're all lying and they're all evil.
Yeah.
And I think that's a weird place.
They're tyrants. They're going in there. They're taking control. They're not, no one is monitoring them. They're not, it's just all, because that's what it looks like, I guess, from the outside looking in, it looks like, if you feel that way, if you feel that way, it can look that way. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
What
if
you
you
see,
feel,
what you perceive is what you see.
what you feel can show up in your reality. But
Of course.
and it's so funny that it's not, that's not the reality. So if you step back from your feelings and just see exactly what's taking place, it's not a tyrant in there who's just getting rid of everything for everybody so that they can make more money. It just doesn't make any sense. When you really break down and look at the things that they found.
Well, people don't see. Here's the thing.
It's like when you
People
got to
don't
look
believe.
beyond. Yeah, you got to look beyond.
No, but here's the thing. If I don't want to listen to you, like if you're trying to present something to me and I'm just like, I don't like faith. I don't like what you stand for. I don't like your jacket. I
Yeah,
don't like your pants.
yeah,
I don't like your name. I don't
Yeah.
like where you from.
right.
I don't even like the fact that you there in the government period. I ain't hearing nothing you trying to
Okay,
say.
well then that's something different because if you just don't like the person, no matter if they're doing good, no matter if he's feeding all the children, all the hungry children in the world, somehow that is still not going to be good enough. So I mean, if it's just that you hate the person, then I mean,
It's a dead end.
yeah, it's a dead
It's a
end.
dead
There,
end of a
we
conversation.
really can't have a conversation
That's what I
about
think
it.
is lacking in America is that citizens, to me, are not having conversations. That's what we try to do on this channel is try to have conversations. You know what I'm saying? Like when we have larger panel conversations, like how do we have a conversation with people that are not like either, oh, you're a Trumper or you hate Trump. Like
Right.
this country is not about Donald Trump. And one of the things about this particular episode is really looking at the fact of, okay, what are people protesting? Have they explored what they are protesting for?
Mm-hmm.
And also the biggest thing, what do they see for the future of America? That's the thing. And I'm gonna
That's
tell
it.
you, we haven't got to my revelation yet. But
Hold
we're
on.
gonna get to it. But go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Whatever's on
You
your
just said no, you just said a lot right there. It's not about it's not about Republican, it's not about Democrat, it's not about liberal, it's not about conservative, it's not about cuz to me all of those things identify a person.
Mhm.
It identifies a person, but that's not enough. It shouldn't be enough where you just see the identity and you don't see anything beyond the exterior, you don't see anything beyond that first layer.
Right.
Then we shouldn't be thinking along those lines. We should always look beyond the exterior, right? We
Yeah.
learned that in our past. So we learned that,
Right.
we should
Right.
look beyond the exterior.